In the number 5 slot, Farseek. This card has been the card that has allowed control decks to kind of just keep up with the curve. You see like Band Control always playing 4 of this card, and with good reason. When we were playing Reanimator, our favorite turn 2, and I gotta go over this deck because you guys don't know what deck I'm talking about, but actually, let me load up the deck right here. Don't look at this, but I believe I have it right. Oh, no, I don't have it. That's okay. Oops, that's WoW. Going back to Windows Media Player. There we go. Yeah, Farseek is amazing, and it's going to get even better post Gate Crash just because you're going to be able to dig up I'm sorry, not dual, shockland that you want to. It's amazing fixing. The fact that it digs up multicolor lands is insane, and with how powerful some of the 5, 6, 7 plus drops and even Sphinx's Revelation, the X spells are, being able to ramp is very powerful. There aren't a lot of ramp spells out there, but Farseek is about the best that we could possibly ask for. In the number 4 slot, this one's pretty obvious. Sphinx's Revelation has been dominating the format. This card is just so good, being able to tap out for it. Like, you kind of stall out against aggro. You finally get to a turn where you can just kind of like pass turn and threaten a counterspell, and whether or not they do something, Sphinx's Revelation just keeps you alive and gets you right back in the game by drawing a massive amount of cards. I think this card is very beatable. I am surprised to not see more Dispels in sideboards because I think that Dispel is an extremely good answer to this card, and also a very good answer to winning counterspell wars and kind of like Bant Control Mirrors or any kind of control mirror for that matter, even Grixis. I'd like to see Dispel seeing a lot more play to fight against this card, but either way, Sphinx's Revelation is good against control, it's good against aggro, it's good against mid-range, and yeah, I also think that this card is going to continue to see play. In the number 3 slot, we have Restoration Angel. I actually don't think that Restoration Angel has the best, because right now, like in the format, a lot of the creatures, like Thragtusk is, the big creature. Like blinking out a Thragtusk is amazing, but there's not a lot of good like 1, 2, and 3 drops that are really good to blink with the Restoration Angel. There's Agrobolus, which I really like, but one of my big problems with Agrobolus is when you're playing 4 Agrobolus and 4 Restoration Angel in a deck together, like let's say you just start with that, like the next cards you have to add to that deck almost have to be instants and sorceries, because if you're running less than 20 instants and sorceries in a deck with Agrobolus, you're going to be blanking quite a bit. And I know a lot of people say that they're fine with blanking, but there's no reason to put a card like Agrobolus in your deck if you plan on blanking with him, because you're essentially just playing a 1-3 for 2 and saying that you're okay with that, which I personally, as a deck builder, am not okay with. I like to err on the side of consistency. So I think that with Restoration Angel, her power is determined by the amount of creatures in the format that she works well with, like Centaur Healer, Agrobolus, etc., etc. And there really just aren't a lot of good 1 through 3 drops that she works well with. That being said, she's still a powerhouse. A 3/4 flying body is amazing. Flash is amazing. Again, we were talking about Flash and Haste being very good in this format. And when you do get to the late game and you you play a Thragtusk and you stabilize, and then you're against aggro and they go to swing and you blink your Thragtusk in and out, there's just no coming back from that. She's amazing even without the creatures. Again, the body's great. I've actually been thinking about some tech with her, because everyone's just kind of like playing, in order to fight against Restoration Angel, they just play their own Restoration Angel. But I really like the idea of playing Sorn, Lord of Innistrad, and giving yourself the emblem, because then your Restoration Angel beats their Restoration Angels. Kind of like going back to the Falconwrath Aristocrat. Like that 4-power flyer really gets in there against the Restoration Angel, and I really like that. So I thought it would be cool to find a way to make your Restoration Angel battle against theirs. So, I don't know, just a thought, but she's been defining the metagame, and she is definitely going to continue to see play. Number 2, we have Cavernous Wolves, and I feel like a lot of people have been just missing this card, because everyone when they look at the deck list, they look at the 35 cards that people are playing, they never look at the mana base. Cavernous Souls is just insane. Like, against Blue-White Flash, people are playing all these counter spells, all these Augur Boluses. Even Band Control has, if they're not playing them in the main board, they have an arsenal of counter spells in the sideboard that a lot of the times they bring in, depending on the deck that you're playing. And Cavernous Souls just allows you to cheat things into play. Like, you don't really play it on turn 1 or 2 or 3. What you do is, you're on 4 mana, and your opponent untaps and just draws and says go, obviously holding open a Dissipate or a Syncopate or something, and then on your turn you just play Cavern Naming Beast and Cavern or Thragtusk into play, and it's just a blowout because they wasted a turn hoping that they were going to counterspell your next thing, and you just cavern and cheat everything into play. And at that point, when they were holding a counterspell open on an empty board and you slammed a Thragtusk, it's going to be really hard for them to come back from that, just because Thragtusk is so good, so hard to deal with. And Cavernous Souls really should be used as a weapon in this format. And I'd like to see people building decks that start with 4 Cavernous Souls instead of like building the first 35 cards in the deck and then like hoping that they're able to fit Cavernous Souls in the deck. I highly recommend that when you're building your deck that you keep your creature types in mind, you keep the casting cost of your spells in mind, and you try to be able to fit this card in, even if it's just as a 2-of or something, because cheating, even if it is just Thragtusk in your deck that you're cheating into play, it's totally worth it. In the number 1 slot, we've talked about this card quite a bit already, so it's pretty obvious, but we have Thragtusk. This card is just, you can't really deal with it. There's no way to deal with it that you get value out of it. The best way that we've kind of figured out so far is counterspells, which is, again, why I can't say it enough, you should be caverning your Thragtusks into play. It's obviously, like, if they you play Thragtusk on 5 mana and they syncopate it for 1, that's an amazing answer to Thragtusk, because you spent 5 mana, they spent 2 mana, and then they get to untap. But if you're trying to deal with it with anything but a counterspell, it's really hard to. Like, you can't just remove it, even if obviously since it's when it leaves play, so you can't like exile it with Detention Sphere because it just comes back. The Thragtusk in being paired with things like Angel of Serenity are amazing because you just get to bring it back, and you can even Wrath the board, and Thragtusk will leave a body behind, which is just, I mean, everyone knows why Thragtusk is so good. I think also this card is going to continue to be good. My favorite thing about Thragtusk is his mana cost, because I don't really try to make a Thragtusk deck and like, let's say I'm starting out a deck and it's 4 Cavernous Souls and 4 Thragtusks. I don't necessarily think that needs to be a green deck, because I'm going to be playing my Cavern Naming Beast a lot of the times anyway, so it doesn't matter what colors my other lands are. And he's just so easy to splash that there's no reason you really need to like worry about the mana cost, or worry about the fact that he's green. Like, you could totally build an Esper deck, or a non-green deck, and then just like get it up to 56 cards, and then add 4 Thragtusk and adjust the mana base to fit him in. Because with all the shock lands, Evolving Wilds, Chromatic Lantern, you have access to so many things to fix your mana that there's no reason not to play this guy in your deck, regardless of your colors. The 5 life is insane. It just makes aggro decks cry, and that's why you've seen. I don't really know why, or I think the reason that Rakdos has been doing so well lately is just because Blue-White Flash isn't playing Thragtusk, and I think it's a huge mistake not to play this guy. Like, if you're playing a control deck or you're playing a blue deck, you should definitely have Thragtusk as part of your board. But yeah, that's it for now. This whole list is going to completely change when Gatecrash comes around,